Can't believe I'm saying this, but 2022 has finally arrived, and what does it bring? Okay, one absurdly high stock market price is practically a 13-year bull market run with inflation nearly 5 times higher in a single year. Third, the economy is more in debt than it has ever been. After a pandemic, we see bad news, horrible news, bad news everywhere. Knowing what to do with our money might be difficult. What do we put our money into? And one person I like to consult when trying to answer this question is Warren Buffett, a well-known investor. All-time best investors. What is he investing in this year? These are crazy times. By a long shot, Buffett's largest holding is a well-known corporation. You've probably heard of it. Apple. By the way, when I mention Buffett, I'm referring to Berkshire Hathaway, the financial firm where he manages his fortune. Buffett holds 887 million Apple shares, accounting for 42.78% of his stock portfolio. We're going to start with his publicly traded stock portfolio, just to be clear. Okay, so his Apple is worth between $100 billion and $25 billion. That's a monster position, 4 times bigger than his next largest holding. And Buffett first started buying Apple, way back in May 2016 for a price of around $23-ish a share. And he kept buying all the way up until Q1 of 2018. As of today, it's gone up by around 4 to 8 times in terms of price since he bought, and Buffett hasn't sold. He's still holding it as by far his largest stock. Second largest stock position belongs to the second largest bank in America. This is Bank of America, which is a bit of a tongue twister. So Warren Buffett owns $42 billion in Bank of America stock, which accounts for 14.6% of his total holdings. It trades under the ticker symbol BAC on the New York Stock Exchange. If you wish to look into buying Bank of America, Buffett did so by exercising a warrant with a strike price of $7.14. In the third quarter of 2018, he also expanded his shareholding by 30% at a price of roughly $30. So, this gives him an overall cost basis for Apple stock of $14. Now we look today at the stock price, it's $46 a share. So Buffett has made some very good profit. Now the P ratio is nice and low compared to the current market. It's sitting at 13.8, and they do pay a bit of a dividend with a yield of 1.89%. American Express, the credit card service company. It comes in at number 3 for Buffett's portfolio that he manages. The value is $45.4 billion. He owns 150,000 shares, or 8.66% of the company's total stock. The company itself is a very value-oriented stock, with a price of $173 and a rather low price to earnings ratio of 18.1 in this market. It also pays a dividend, 1% of the population, and, if we look at Guru's study of intrinsic value, we can see that it costs about $214 per share. As a result, it's selling at a discount. Now we'll look at Coca-Cola, which is one of Warren Buffett's favorite investments. And I remember watching an interview where he said he would never sell Coca-Cola stock. Makes up 7.15% of the stock portfolio, worth $20.1 billion. And Buffett bought into the stock way back in 1988. And this means that through the stock he owns, big-name beverage brands such as Fanta, Sprite, Smart Water, and a range of other billion-dollar brands. This next stock even further shows you how into the food and beverage industry that Buffett is. He owns $11.9 billion in Kraft Heinz stock, and this comes at his 5th largest position, worth 4.09% of the portfolio. Kraft Heinz stock. Many people consider this a value play. Still, with its crash in price over the past couple of years, it's got a low market cap, it's got a high dividend of 4.4% and a reasonable P ratio of 19.5. So Warren Buffett's 6th, 8th and 10th largest position are all bank/financial stocks. As a result, banks and financial services businesses account for 5 of his top 10 largest equities. So coming in at number 6 is Moody's Finance Firm, which is valued $8.7 billion and accounts for 3% of the portfolio. Arriving US Bancorp, worth $7.5 billion and yielding 2.5%, is the 9th largest. Bank of New York is the 10th largest stock. Mellon is valued $3.7 billion and accounts for 1.3% of the portfolio. The banking and financial services sector is one of the sectors in which the buffer is heavily invested in 2022. You might wonder why that is a reasonable inquiry. So there are a few important reasons for this one. You want to hold stocks that companies need to do business and keep the economy running. That's what banks are for. Also, we should remember that Buffett likes to buy things when everyone is scared and panicking, and he did this with the banking sector. American Express, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs were all signature post-crash Buffett bailout buys which led to large returns. Okay, the stocks that weren't banking that we skipped were Verizon, the wireless network service provider, at 2.92% of the portfolio. This is worth $8.5 billion. Then there's DaVita Healthcare, which is valued $4.2 billion and accounts for 1.4% of the portfolio. These are the ones. Buffer's top 10 largest positions as of 2022. The 11th and 12th largest positions, valued 1.8 and 1.4%, respectively, are General Motors and Charter Communications. Respectively, the portfolio and the rest of his holdings are all worth less than 1% of their original value. I'm not going to show you all of those very small, slightly insignificant positions, but some of the ones that stand out as interesting small positions that Buffett holds. We've got Amazon, the giant's e-commerce company, which has seen some pretty impressive growth over the past couple of years. Berkshire also bought Snowflake, which is a very different investment than Buffett normally goes for. First of all, IPO did recently, and Buffett normally avoids IPOs, but not this time though. And secondly, it's a cloud computing-based data warehousing company. It's not Buffett's general investment, so this tells me it must have been someone else at Berkshire that bought her. And Kroger is another one of the smaller positions that Buffett holds. Again, it proves how much he likes retail and food companies. Then Visa, another small position worth 7% of the market this year. If we break his portfolio down by sector, the largest by far is the technology sector, worth 43.2%. Wait, what? Warren Buffett and technology? That doesn't make sense. But remember, Buffett's largest position is Apple, a technology stock. So that's where the high percentage comes in. With 31.7%, the financial services sector is the second largest. And we've gone over all of Buffett's financial stocks and why he likes the sector so much. Consumer defense is the third largest sector, accounting for 12.7%. This includes all of his food and beverage businesses, such as Coca-Cola, Kraft, Heinz, Kroger, and so on. What can we take away from this? It's that smorgasbord. He buys what he understands, which is food, consumers, and that side of the market. He knows his way around banks, the ins and outs of financial services, and Apple stock, which is fundamentally a consumer-oriented industry. He sticks to what he knows, and we should too if we understand technology and the internet. Look at the stocks in those sectors. If you understand cars, well, look at stocks like Ford, or Tesla, or Toyota, etc. If you're into cosmetics and beauty, what are the leading and fastest growing companies in this industry? Buffett can teach us to invest in areas that we are familiar with and enjoy. So what I've just given you are his publicly traded equities, which he is required to declare by law. However, we must keep in mind that Buffett also owns a number of privately held firms. The insurance company Geico. Buffett, for example, owns all of the sweet businesses. Candy and Dairy Queen, c. Nebraska Furniture Mart is his 100% and 99% ownership. He owns 80% of the railway company BNSF. He bought the company altogether for $34 billion. Duracell, the battery company, he owns as well. So Buffett's portfolio is mixed between both private companies and publicly traded companies. And generally, as we saw, it's the simple companies that Buffett likes to own: the food companies, the railway, the furniture stores, the batteries, the ones whose businesses model he can understand easily. Another important thing that I want to show you is how Buffett is balanced between cash and stocks this year. So altogether, between both his publicly traded stocks and his privately owned businesses, he has $310.70 billion invested. Then if we look at the cash that he has a lot that comes up to $144 billion in cash and cash equivalents. And by the way, most of that is in short-term treasury bills. So that means that 32% of his and higher portfolio is cash and the other 68% is businesses. That is quite a high cash percentage, especially for Buffett. He generally prefers to buy stocks than hold on to cash, which doesn't really grow. Inflation simply eats it away. But, in current market, where everything is so expensive, he's having trouble finding value investments to buy. So he's staying safe while playing the game. In 2020, Buffett will own a large number of bank equities, several consumer stocks. He is patiently investing. He didn't buy much last year, is letting his cash pile, and I believe he's waiting for equities to become more affordable before jumping back in and buying big.